Are you investing in AI education, or just buying peace of mind? A practical guide to separating what works from what doesn't. Introduction. The AI-era education industry generates roughly $12 billion annually. Behind that number are families spending between $15,000 and $50,000 a year on coding courses, tech bootcamps, and future skills programs. The real question: how much of that actually prepares students for what's ahead? Sound familiar? That creeping feeling that if your kid doesn't enroll in the next AI bootcamp, they'll get left behind? That anxiety is completely valid. We're living through rapid technological change where new tools, programs, and certificates promising to be the solution appear daily. In this article, you'll learn to tell the difference between educational investments that genuinely build capabilities and those that just temporarily ease your anxiety. You'll see what conditions need to be in place for an investment to make sense, and what current regulations say about AI in educational settings. The reality is that the edtech market intentionally blends verifiable facts with marketing promises. And knowing how to separate them is, paradoxically, the most valuable skill you can develop today. What is AI-era education, really? AI-era education isn't about learning to code. It's something deeper, and a lot harder to fit on a brochure. It's about building capabilities that remain useful even as tools change, verifying information, communicating ideas clearly, solving problems without step-by-step instructions, and learning independently. Think of it like the difference between teaching someone to use a specific hammer versus helping them understand what type of problem calls for striking, pressure, or cutting. The catch? These capabilities take years to develop. They don't come with a certificate at the end of the term. They can't be showcased in a 30-second promo video. That's why the market tends to sell more photogenic substitutes: Python for 8-year-olds, weekend, computational thinking, workshops, AI platforms that gamify learning. None of these are necessarily bad. They're just insufficient when marketed as complete solutions. Why edtech marketing is so effective? There's a powerful information gap at play. Program sellers know far more about what their product does than buyers know about what their kids actually need. This gap works because the emotional urgency is real. Automation is advancing. Jobs are changing. Parents' concerns about their children's future are legitimate. AI education marketing captures that energy, and converts it into sales. Here are the red flags. If a program emphasizes its tools over the capabilities it builds, you're looking at tech theater. If the evaluation model hasn't changed, if standardized tests are still the core metric, the institution is automating existing mediocrity. If they can't explain what specific skill the program develops and how it's measured, they're selling confidence, not education. One anti-pattern even has its own name: techwashing. It means buying AI technology purely for a modern image. The result? Spending $25,000 to $60,000 a year on tools that change nothing because the teaching model never transformed. What the law says, the regulatory framework most people don't know about. Here's something most schools and families have no idea about. The EU AI Act, Regulation 2024/1689, classifies educational AI systems as high risk when they determine access to educational institutions, assess learning outcomes, or monitor student behavior during exams. This isn't a philosophical classification. It has real legal consequences. Article 26 establishes that the institution purchasing and implementing an AI education tool becomes the deployer legally responsible. That means specific technical obligations, documenting how the system works, ensuring educational staff understands its outputs, and maintaining genuine human oversight with real power to override. Article 13 requires the system to be transparent enough for non-technical educational staff to understand why a particular output was generated. If your school uses an AI platform to grade or predict student performance and can't mathematically explain how it reached that assessment, it's breaking the law. The GDPR adds another important layer. Article 32 establishes that using public tools like ChatGPT to grade essays or process student data constitutes a serious violation. The data leaves institutional control and may be used to train models without appropriate consent. The regulations exist. The problem is that most educational institutions don't even know their deployers under this law. The 8 transferable skills, a useful framework, not proven truth. There's a conceptual framework of 8 skills considered relevant for navigating an AI-driven future: AI model literacy, clear writing and structured thinking, informational judgment to verify sources, problem solving under constraints, real communication and collaboration, self-management and focus, fast learning ability, and a portfolio with demonstrable evidence. This framework is useful, as long as you treat it as a guide, not gospel. What can't be honestly stated is that these skills protect against labor automation. No longitudinal studies validate that correlation. They're plausible concepts that need operational definition tailored to each specific context. For example, AI model literacy doesn't mean learning to code. It means understanding what generative AI does and doesn't do, why it produces hallucinations, outputs that sound correct but are false, how to verify its responses, and why its output isn't truth by default. Clear writing means producing a 200 to 300 word summary with a thesis, evidence, and a counterargument. Not a 5-page essay. A 1-page document: problem, context, options, decision, risks. These definitions are starting points. They need continuous adaptation and validation by context. What it actually costs to do this right. Numbers matter here, not to discourage you, but to calibrate expectations. Genuinely redesigning a curriculum toward transferable competencies requires 18 to 36 months of work, 100 to 200 hours of teacher training, and between $200,000 and $500,000 for a mid-sized school of 300 to 500 students. That doesn't include ongoing maintenance costs. Real AI literacy, not cosmetic, runs $50,000 to $150,000 annually in tools, teacher training, and continuous updates. It requires 1 or 2 full-time EdTech coordinators. For families acting without waiting for institutional change, a sustainable investment is 5 to 10 hours per week of active parental involvement and $3,000 to $8,000 annually in quality educational resources. One non-negotiable condition: it should represent less than 15% of annual household income per child. That last point is critical. Families spending 20 to 30% of annual income on AI prep programs create financial instability and put pressure on students to return the investment, all without evidence of effectiveness. The most common mistakes, and how to avoid them. The first is called shadow AI. A teacher uses public ChatGPT to grade essays because the official platform the school bought is clunky and slow. Seems practical. It's a serious GDPR violation because minor students' data leaves institutional control entirely. The second is blind delegation. A system predicts which students are at risk of failing. The academic coordinator accepts the algorithmic recommendation without contextual validation. The student tagged high risk receives less attention. The prediction becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The third is compliance theater. The institution hires a consultant to complete the data impact assessment required by GDPR. The document gets filed. Nobody reads it or implements the mitigation measures identified. Formally, compliance exists. In practice, the vulnerabilities remain active. All three share the same root cause: confusing administrative ritual with genuine risk management. Conclusion. Here's what we covered. Most spending on AI preparation converts anxiety into product, without evidence of sustained effectiveness. The EU AI Act and GDPR impose real legal obligations on institutions implementing educational AI, and most don't know about them. Educational investments only make sense under specific conditions: financial stability, stable pedagogical leadership, and sustained commitment. One thing that doesn't get said enough: the ability to learn new things and tolerate the frustration of the process can't be purchased at any bootcamp. It's cultivated through years of deliberate practice, adult models who demonstrate it, and space to fail without catastrophic consequences. The first step isn't picking the right program. It's asking the right question: what specific capability do I want to develop, under what conditions, and with what genuine time commitment? Start by auditing what you already invest in. Before adding a new program, examine whether existing ones are building measurable capabilities, or just generating the feeling of doing something. The good news: effective education doesn't primarily require technology. It requires time, attention, and honest expectations. That's still accessible. If you found this helpful, consider supporting my work. ko-fi.com/luisospina21292. Or reach out for professional consulting. info@vvc-consultor.com. #digital education, #artificial intelligence, #future of work, #AI literacy, #edtech, #digital transformation, #vconsultor.